I'm with Mary Arthur. Mary, welcome to Llanelli.
Thank you.
Just tell us a bit, why have you decided to stand for MP for Llanelli?
After working in policy and politics at a top level for a number of years, working with some very good politicians, and following the result of Brexit last year, I decided that I wanted to stand up for my country and put myself forward. And to do that, I gave up one of my businesses in preparation for becoming more politically active. It's come around a bit sooner than I thought, but I'm definitely ready to stand for Llanelli.
That's a huge step to take to give up the business, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I did give it up. I gifted the shares to the manager because I knew I've always been busy. I've always had 3 or 4 jobs at the same time. And currently I'm the director of Sustain Wales, Plaid Cymru, the national charity for sustainable development. I was running 2 businesses and I was doing marketing consultancy. And I knew if I wanted to start getting more involved in grassroots work and politics, that I had to give something up. And so I started with the nursery. I had a Welsh language nursery. So I gifted that as an easy way of moving on and starting to focus on politics.
And your selection has been a little bit last minute. Do you think you have time realistically now to go up against a well-known figure like Nia Griffith in Llanelli?
Yes, I do. I think it's the perfect time. Ideally, we'd have more time, but I've got my background is in strategy and planning, so I've already put in place a really strong campaign strategy. And I think now is the time as well for Plaid, because there's a lot of dissent and a lot of disillusionment, and I think that we can show through a very strong campaign period that Plaid Cymru can lead where Labour has left.
You do need quite a large swing, though, at least 10%, I think, based on the figures. Where do you see those additional votes coming from?
I see us taking back some of the UKIP votes from last time. I think a lot of those votes were showing how disillusioned people are with politics at the moment. But I also see a lot of Labour voters being disillusioned with what's going on within Labour. There's no strong leadership there at the moment. I think there's nothing that's been done in Llanelli recently to make people think that anything's going to change for the better. So I think from both ends, there's an opportunity to win voters.
Llanelli might be justified in considering itself as the poor relation, given the developments in Carmarthen, for instance. The town centre decline has been well documented in the press as well. What can be done to level the playing field when it comes to spending in Carmarthenshire and Llanelli in particular?
I think the town centre is something I'm very focused on. I remember growing up in a thriving town centre in Llanelli, and I can't believe the state that we've got into today, but I don't think it's damaged beyond repair. I know a lot of people do. I really don't. I think Plaid have got a good plan for business rates, restructuring business rates, and having 2 businesses myself, I know how unfair the current business rate structure is. I think if we can help small businesses and have local businesses back in the town centre and start to put the focus on building the town centre up around independent businesses, there'll be and building on the work that's already started, I think it's a really good opportunity to put the identity and the heart and the character back into Llanelli town centre.
And obviously we've got our fair share of social problems as well, of large numbers of people on spiralling decline of crime, drug and alcohol abuse, homelessness, unemployment. If you're elected, what can you do to reverse that spiral?
Well, several different things. I think one of the things is looking at the economy, job opportunities, bringing in the living wage, the real living wage, not the minimum wage that we have now, and not Corbyn's £10 an hour living wage. I think there's an opportunity for people to earn decent money and put money back into the local economy, which will attract people to the jobs that maybe they're not attracted to at the moment as well. I think tackling drugs from the top, so making sure that the dealers are caught and they get justice, but also from the bottom. So we put in a support structure and working with the third sector, because my background is with the third sector at the moment, getting proper support for drug users that want to rehabilitate, and maybe looking at putting in safe places for consumption as well, to start cleaning up the city slowly towards moving towards sort of getting rid of drugs altogether.
And where do you stand on the kind of town centre, out-of-town shopping debate? People's habits have changed, haven't they?
Yes.
And we've got online shopping as well. But parking, free parking in towns and kind of opening up our town centres, forward planning, having a long-term plan, as you said, to do some of those things you mentioned there. What can be done?
I think, as you said, the fashion has changed. We've gone from shopping locally to going out of town to big department stores, to big superstores. I think the movement, I think we're already looking to start buying locally again. More people want to start supporting independent businesses. I think the time is right now to start putting those independent businesses back in the town centre and putting the structure around the support that needs, around parking and facilities, making it a really strong, accessible town centre with a wealth of different kinds of independent businesses, not just giving opportunities to any business that want to put a shop there. I think we need to limit the types of shops we have there, so we've got a good mixture of shops and restaurants and takeaways. We don't want it overrun by one particular sector.
We asked people to send in a question. We had a few sent in, and this one is for you, is one for Leanne as well. Grassroots sport is in desperate trouble. Fields, parks and buildings are all being sold off. They're put up for asset transfer, with some inevitably going to developers. Many clubs and local councils cannot afford the maintenance fees, and meanwhile, some huge sums of money appear to be pumped into elite sports facilities, 500,000 on a closed circuit track, to Welsh cycling, 150,000 to Carmarthen Football Club, 275,000 on a velodrome in Carmarthen. What are your priorities going to be for local grassroots sport and recreation and the protection of our green spaces across Wales?
I think sport is hugely important for the wealth and the health of our country. I'm a keen runner and I've always been a rugby supporter, so I'm very much behind making sure anyone has access to local facilities. I've been working on a project as well recently with WRU to try and look at making the Millennium Stadium an independent energy island, which will release money to put back into community rugby clubs. So I think there's opportunities of working at a grassroots level to protect local spaces, but looking wider, looking nationally at opportunities where we can put money into grassroots, as well as with the reduction of Communities First funding and the eventual elimination of it. There's opportunity to apply for more community funds. So we've really got an opportunity now to look at where we want to support and to build new structures for sports on a local level. And then there's funding and support available in the third sector to secure that.
And finally, your chances at the election now, realistically, you think you're going to get in?
I really do. Yes, I think this is our time. I think what we need in Llanelli now is strong leadership. I think there's a lot of apathy around with a lot of elections lately, and I think people are looking for change. I think they know the Tories are not going to look after us. We need someone speaking for Wales and for Llanelli in Westminster, and it hasn't worked with Labour so far. I think there's disillusionment with Labour and there's worry about what the Tories will do. I think now's the time for Plaid, and I think I'm the strong leader to bring it home.
Well, thanks for speaking to Llanelli Online, and good luck with the campaign.
Diolch yn fawr.